Yogi Clan, welcome back to Safety Tip Tuesday. Today's topic is lanes. What lane of the road should you be in and why? I'm sorry, I got some boxes in the back of the truck. We're getting ready for the orphan run. I got 100 t-shirts back there ready to ship to our printer so he can print off our orphan run shirts. So my apologies, I got a bunch of junk in the back seat. But today we're going to talk about what lane of the road should you be in. Many of you may not have really ever given this much thought, but once you've been around for a minute or two, you've probably thought about it at some time. Which side of the lane, which side of the road should I be riding on right now? Because it is a safety aspect, and there are some points that I want to bring up and I want to talk about. We're going to hit that here in a minute. I'll be right back. All right, Yogi Clan, welcome back. Before we get digging into this, let's talk about the three different parts of the road, because I think there are three different parts. There is the left side of the road, which would be where the driver sits in a car in a cage. So you have the left lane, you have the center lane, and you have the right side of the lane, right side of the road. Also where the passenger tire goes. So whenever you're riding down the road, you're in one of three. So we'll either say it's going to be the driver's side where his tire goes, the center lane, or the right-hand lane. So motorcycle safety classes, what do they generally teach you to do? They generally teach you that the driver's side, the left-hand side of the road, is generally the place you want to be. Why? Why would that be? One good reason that I have found is, when you're driving your car like this and you look out your left mirror, you see a motorcycle behind you. So being on the left-hand side of the road lets you, the drivers who are using their mirrors, look out and see you behind them. Another reason why I like being on the left-hand side of the road is because I can hug, we'll again use our references that we used in previous videos. On the left-hand side of the road is the yellow line, otherwise known as the mustard. The right-hand side of the road, the passenger side, is where the white line is, the mayonnaise sideline. Personally, I prefer riding on the mustard side of the road, or the left-hand side of the road. That way I can stay all the way to the edge, as close as I can to the edge in heavy traffic. Let's say we're on a highway, heavy traffic on the highway. I'm trying to look past the car that's in front of me to the car in front of them, or the car in front of that car, and try to keep pace with a car 2 or 3 cars ahead. That way I can see if traffic's slowing or speeding up, and I can keep pace with traffic. So I kind of like riding on the left-hand side of the road. Also on the left-hand side of the road, if you're coming up to a left-hand curve, cars coming around the curve from the other direction can see you. If you're on the right-hand side of the road, the mayonnaise side, and you're tracking behind a car going around a left-hand curve, they can't see you behind that car, but they can if you're more towards the left-hand side of the road. A danger to being the left-hand side of the road, especially if there are no cars in front of you, is maybe that car that's approaching you is looking at their cell phone and they're not paying attention, or they're changing the radio station and they start going over the double yellow line in your lane. If you're tracking on the left-hand side of the road, you're now in a hot spot. Another point to think about on the left-hand side of the road, say you are tracking behind a vehicle and you're coming up to an intersection where a car is coming in from this way. If you are on the left-hand side of the road, you are shielded and hidden as you're approaching behind a car. You are shielded and hidden behind the car in front of you. That car in front of you passes by. Now that person may not have never seen you, may be pulling out from that intersection, and you would be prime target. Now if you're tracking behind a car and you're coming up to an intersection, I would suggest moving over to the right. That way the view from that person coming at you, if you're shielded by a car, they can see you behind that car. They now have a visual line of you behind that car. They know not to pull out. Flip side of the coin, exact same scenario. You're coming up to that intersection. There's a car here, but now there's no car in front of you. If you are in that right-hand spot because, hey, I want this guy to see me, well, now you're closer to a straight line of vision from him. It is harder for him to perceive your rate of speed than if you were to be on the left-hand side of the road. If you're on the left-hand side of the road, the angle is different, and as you're moving, you look like a bigger object moving, and therefore he can see you coming at him easier. It's just easier for him to see. So when there's no car in front of you, you're going to want to be on the left-hand side of the lane coming up to a perpendicular intersection. If there is a car in front of you, you're going to want to be in the right-hand side of the lane coming up to that intersection. So, there's really a lot to think about. In the center lane, there's only one good reason to ever ride in the center lane, in my opinion. That's when, well, I don't even really like it in that situation. I'll just say that's when you're following a car, because people are more apt to look out of their rear view mirror before they look out of their side mirrors. So you'll be spotted easier in a rear view mirror than you will be out of side mirrors. So that would be, maybe for an instance, when you're coming up behind a car, get over in the center, make sure he sees you, then move, and then pick a lane right or left after he sees you. I don't like riding in the middle of the lane. Why? Well, because that's where cars drop all their oil. So the center lane, especially when it starts raining, is going to be a whole lot more slick than the mustard or mayonnaise side. The center lane typically has all the debris in it also. Truck tires, alligator tires, pieces of alligator tires, they're in the center lane, center of the lane. A car will hit them, it'll flip and roll, and they'll roll from whether on the left tire track or the right tire track until they get to a spot where they don't roll anymore, and that's usually either off the road or in the center of the lane. So especially when driving on a highway with semi-heavy traffic, I don't ever ride in the center of the lane, because usually all that debris and all that junk is dead slap in the center. Not to mention there's oil drips in the center, which makes that center a little bit more slippery, especially when it's just started raining. Likewise, thinking of debris in the road, manhole covers. You usually find manhole covers are put in the center of the road because they're put there so cars straddle them. So anything that's any kind of road improvement or something in the road is generally placed in the center of the road, because it's designed for vehicles to straddle those objects and not run over them continuously. Now, I do know there are manholes that sometimes are either on the right-hand tire track side or left-hand tire track side. That's just piss poor planning by the city. But for most of the time, they're in the center. That way you track over them. Another thing about the right-hand side of the lane to think about also, especially on country roads, it is much more rough on the right-hand side tire track than it is on the left, on the driver's side. Passenger side usually has a lot more potholes. If there's any kind of gravel in the road from rain washout, it's usually on the passenger side. So on country roads, I try to stay away from the center. I try to stay away from the passenger side, because they're usually a whole lot more rough. That puts you over on the left-hand side, the driver's side. But again, on a country road, you have to be worried about people crossing over the line at you. So what lane is there that's really good? None. You just gotta take your pick for the circumstance of what your driving elements are, On the highway also, you need to think about ownership of your lane. Making sure you own your lane so nobody moves over into you. So again, sometimes, yes, I may be going over to the left-hand side of the car so I can look past him and see what's in front of him. But if it's also really heavy traffic, sometimes I move over to the right and do that from the right. That way, as you're coming up on a car to pass, you're right there in his mirror. And you're hoping he uses that mirror before he moves over, because then you're becoming right over. But at some point in time, you're going to hit a blind spot, which then it would be better to move back over to the left-hand side of the lane once you get to his blind spot. And there's a lot to think about. There's a lot of moving back and forth in between lanes. And for any particular moment, no side is the right side. Maybe right now you need to be over on that side, or maybe you need to be on that side. So in a semi-heavy highway traffic, I could be either on the left side looking up or looking over, or if I feel like I need to be owning my lane, I'll move over to the right and I'll be looking over the passenger side of the car, looking forward, watching traffic. But the important thing is always watching that traffic in front of you. So be positioned in the lane to be watching not the car in front of you, but 2 or 3 cars in front of you. Because if you're just watching the car in front of you, they're going to have a brake check at some point in time, because maybe you're following a distracted driver and you're going to eat the back of that car. Not a good place to be. So be looking over their shoulder to look up 2, 3 cars along the way. own your lane so that cars aren't moving over into you, but be careful once you get to their blind spot that you're not caught in their blind spot. So, long story short, there is no right lane, correct lane, I should say, left, center, or right to be in at all situations at all times. When riding solo, it's a combination of all of them. Sometimes you want to be in the center lane to get your driver's attention that's in front of you. Sometimes you want to be in the left lane to look over their shoulder and see what's coming down the road. Sometimes you want to be on the right-hand side of the lane for perpendicular traffic or lane ownership. So it all really depends. It all depends upon your situation, but it's something I wanted to give you as food for thought, as a safety topic, because thinking about that may just save your life. So stay safe out there. Thank you for joining Yogi Cycle Service. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Liking and subscribing, that helps you stay tuned in with what's coming down the road. We got more awesome videos coming, more product reviews. I'm going to be doing a Craftsman lift review on a scissor lift jack. Also had a buddy of mine send me, he did a review on his jack. I might mash those two videos together into one and do a comparison between his lift and my lift to see which one we like better, and just to give you information on both. So stay tuned. More awesome stuff to come. I thank you for joining me today. God bless, Yogi Clan. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.